In 1904, a pamphlet entitled Testimonies for the Church, containing letters to physicians and ministers' instruction to Seventh-day Adventists, or just SPTBO2 for short, Ellen White said the following: "The enemy of souls has sought to bring in the supposition that a great reformation was to take place among Seventh-day Adventists, and that this reformation would consist in giving up the doctrines which stand as the pillars of our faith and engaging in a process of reorganization. Were this reformation to take place, what would result? The principles of truth that God in His wisdom has given to the remnant church would be discarded. Our religion would be changed. The fundamental principles that have sustained the work for the last 50 years would be accounted as error. A new organization would be established. Books of a new order would be written. A system of intellectual philosophy would be introduced. The founders of this system would go into the cities and do a wonderful work. The Sabbath, of course, would be lightly regarded, as also the God who created it. Nothing would be allowed to stand in the way of the new movement. The leaders would teach that virtue was better than vice, but God being removed, they would place their dependence on human power, which, without God, is worthless. Their foundation would be built on sand, and storm and tempest would sweep away the structure." This quote is used to suggest that Ellen White's writings have been being altered since she was alive, and therefore we shouldn't trust many of the books published in her name, such as those in the Conflict of Ages series. But this is impossible. It cannot be referring to this. There are 2 points to make here. The first is that this quote comes from a letter written to the physicians and ministers in October of 1903. It is in 1903 when she said, "Books of a new order would be written, not has been written or have been written." This quote is speaking of the future. Therefore, books such as Great Controversy 1888, Patriarchs and Prophets published in 1890, and Desire of Ages published in 1898 cannot be what she is referring to here. The second point to make is in regards to the context of the statement. Both the letter and the pamphlet make it clear that Ellen White was combating the book Living Temple and the sentiments that were expressed therein, as can be seen on screen. Living Temple, written by the physician Kellogg, denied the personality of God, and instead promoted a scientific and spiritualistic view of Him as an essence pervading all throughout nature. In the paragraph previous to the first one I read, Sister White says this: "In a vision of the night, I was shown distinctly that these sentiments have been looked upon by some as the grand truths that are to be brought in and made prominent at the present time. I was shown a platform, braced by solid timbers, the truths of the Word of God. Someone high in responsibility in the medical work was directing this man and that man to loosen the timbers supporting this platform. Then I heard a voice saying, 'Where are the watchmen that ought to be standing on the walls of Zion? Are they asleep? This foundation was built by the master worker and will stand storm and tempest. Will they permit this man to present doctrines that deny the past experience of the people of God? The time has come to take decided action.'" This makes it clear. Ellen White was referring to the Living Temple and its teachings, not about books like the Desire of Ages. But this presents a compounding problem with those who say Ellen White's writings have been edited. This vision, like the Salamanca vision, wherein Ellen White saw individuals trying to edit the Seventh-day Adventist paper, American Sentinel, was also used to proclaim that Ellen White's writings were edited, but it's completely out of context. And so I ask, where are the in-context quotes from Ellen White, wherein she condemns books like Patriarchs and Prophets, The Desire of Ages, etc.? How can books such as these be so evil, be out in circulation throughout the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and yet Ellen White says nothing about them? Did she not condemn what was going on with the Living Temple? Did she not condemn what was going on with the American Sentinel? Would this not be the greatest, if not one of the greatest cons in Seventh-day Adventist history, to have works published in Ellen White's name, circulated throughout the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and sold to the people of the world? Where are the quotes? If you search her writings, you will not find such quotes. The reason that you cannot even find one quote is because they do not exist, and the doctrine that you are teaching is a lie. Thank you for watching. God bless.